John, we've just finished our dress rehearsal, and I just want, obviously you've been working with us the whole week in such an intensive way, but that's the first time I've experienced the full run of it, and I just wondered how you feel after that dress rehearsal.
Well, I think everything came up to expectations, if not beyond, actually, in some ways. It feels a massive piece. I mean, even though it's not a very long piece at all, it feels a very, very significant piece with lots and lots of different levels and folds in it. It's that sort of folding of times and personalities, which is so striking, and that the music and the overall setting of it and the presentation of it really do fantastically. And Freddie's production has really amplified all those aspects of the piece.
Yeah, well, that was the aim, was really to amplify or to illuminate the score, really, in the way we did it. And yeah, for me too, this this was the first time we've experienced the whole thing, all the different elements together, wasn't it?
It's very odd to, you can experience the piece in different ways. You look through the full score, you look through the libretto, you write the score, you write the libretto, and you still can't experience it till you've seen it in real time.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and I suppose we're a little bit like the first audience in a way, that we are hearing it even though we know so many bits of it. But the crucial thing about that, though, is that the audience will know many bits of it too. They'll should know the Purcell, or might know the Purcell. They'll certainly recognise some of the sort of idioms you use, and ostinato is one particular idiom that is common both to you and to Purcell. So there are many things about it which will seem quite familiar, and I think it will touch most people's musical interests at some point.
Can you talk about that? How you, because I remember in the workshop we did a few months ago, the way you were discovering, I mean you knew the Purcell of course, but the way you were discovering the idiom and the way it was influencing your writing, I found that a really interesting moment of discovery.
It was, the workshop was a crucial turning point for me, and I didn't have much material, but the material I had, there's that duet between Aeneas and Dido where it does, the two worlds do fold in, but with this expanded harmony. I know what it is. I think harmony is so crucial to me, and I definitely think that what the bass does is fundamentally important to me. So, and that's true of so much of Baroque music, isn't it? In contemporary music, a lot of composers they're writing very contrapuntally. So the bass line, it doesn't, for me, I treat the bass line the way Baroque composers did.
They write music without feet. There's a misquote from Debussy, isn't it? Or something. But anyway, yes, that's true, and I think you do really base it on that, and it's also a way of uniting several different styles of music as well, not just your own style and Purcell, but also some popular styles, some other sort of more romantic styles as well in the piece.
So that workshop was handy for me for hearing the timbre, like what these hand pans might do, what the percussion might do, and what the bass would do, and then but I had to hear it in real life. So once I did that, I felt confident I could carry on with the rest of it. But there were still some things I wasn't exactly sure of. But do you know what I'm most delighted is that the way the new instruments, in a way, of course, the percussion is probably the oldest instruments, aren't they? The cymbal is older than any. But that things do blend into this world, this new world.
There's also the way you've set the text. I mean, Wes's text is so brilliant because it feels utterly contemporary, but it's also got this kind of heightened mythical drama as well.
Well, we're extraordinarily lucky that he knew that text. I mean, I'm sure many people do know that text from Ovid, but I didn't, and I don't think any of us did. No, and it just sets the whole thing alive because it has a sort of historical background to it, historical mythological background to it, which gives it
credence, isn't it?
Yes, it gives it a real grounding in a way that had we sort of come up with something completely new,
it wouldn't have been taken seriously in a way. It's like we took it seriously. Oh, there's the Ovid, and the thing is, Ovid was obviously grateful to Virgil, so you've got this admiration going down the centuries.
Yeah. But then the way you've set the text and the simplicity of the text and the way you set it in a kind of Purcellian way, or the repeating of lines and everything. I think that works really beautifully.
And I was studying the Purcell for that. Some things are set. I know there's a place in rehearsal this week where somebody wanted to change the word setting because it seemed a bit awkward, but it's actually exactly how a Purcell sets it in place. You know, where he puts.
Yeah, it often swings the word a little bit. Yes, yeah. No, that happens a lot in 17th century music, in one way or another. I guess gives it almost gives it a little kick.
Yes.
You know, which I think is.
I still find the Purcell very intriguing and unfathomable in some ways because these use of these modes and the phrases that aren't. You think you're hearing it symmetrically, but it's not often.
No, it's beautifully written in such a way that it never sort of sits down and stops. It always has something to keep it moving, to keep your attention really in a way, and that's what I think one of the things that has made it such a famous piece over the years. It's miniature, but it's extremely effective and extremely deeply thought.
But I think by what you've done has that's what's really amplified it as a piece or recontextualized it. And because of what you're saying, you're able to jump in and out or move in and out of the Purcell, aren't you? And into Errollyn's music and back again very easily, even if the sound worlds are very different. There's space somehow dramatically or something.
You could well imagine that many people might think that the Purcell music would be debased by putting this other music around it and making it a sort of secondary thing. But actually, from my point of view, I think the Purcell music has been actually increased. Its whole significance.
It shines, isn't it?
It shines, yes, in a way that, because of its size, it couldn't do before quite. It really feels like a full-scale opera almost in the 19th or 20th century tradition, and that's what gives it. So I think if anybody is afraid that the Purcell will be spoilt, certainly from my point of view, it's far from it.
And we were talking about the role of Aeneas today.
That's been one of the biggest surprises, isn't it?
Yeah, because he is a bit wooden.
Wooden, yeah, weedy, wooden, yes, stiff, yes. I mean, the whole thing is about Dido, really, in Purcell's setting of it. I suppose partly because it was an all-female setting in a way, but I think this shows that Aeneas has gone a lot further than we would have thought from learning just from the Purcell.
And I like the way Freddie's. There's that pivotal moment, and it's just over so quickly in the Purcell when he says he's got to go. Then he says, no, I'll stay. And then Dido says no, and it's just over very quickly. But that's kind of like we've run with that psychological. What's the word? That ambivalence, which was lost in Dido, and that's played out to the end.
Yeah, it is.
And you see Matthew, he's understood that.
Yeah.
That was a, and so Joe and I always cry when we come to it, but it's because he understands that there was a decision to be made, and he couldn't for whatever reason.
Well, we hold him to account in this version, and in the Purcell. He just disappears, and he doesn't pay for the consequences at all, does he? We really hold him to account.
And also the consequences are, by this stage in the story, as it were, all in his mind in a way, aren't they? Anna and the ghostly Dido sort of look after themselves eventually, or are capable of doing so, and it's he who really brings it with him. So it's very much internalized. So it sort of shows you how somebody's older persona often has younger ones wound into it, and it's sometimes quite difficult to unwind them, which he does at the last moment.
So it's made me, I think about this piece, and since rehearsal I'm thinking more about new things in it, and I keep thinking, I'm still composing in my mind, which is a weird thing. Bits are running through, I'm thinking, should I? It's weird, it's haunting me, and it will do for a little while.
Well, that's very good, I think, because the whole thing is about haunting, really, isn't it? And I think it's the musical phrases and the musical recollections that come all the way through it. You've got these wonderful things which are a little bit like leitmotifs, but they're sort of more austere and more affecting in some ways than a leitmotif, because a leitmotif is in some ways just pointing to someone and saying, that's him and he's like this. But this reminds you of an earlier part in the piece, and you think, what does it remind me of? What was actually happening at that time? What's happened since? Have I heard it in between? It sort of actually configures your own listening experience in a way that a leitmotif doesn't necessarily have to do. So it does have an incredible musical integrity to it. And I think that is one of the things that is very striking about the setting from Errollyn's point of view, is that it has this almost neutral recurrence of things which somehow haunt us in our experience of the piece, and add an extra sort of level to that sense of recollection that the story brings.
Do you know, there's one bit where I think I accidentally repeated it. It gets really 3 times.
Yes.
When his death must come. And I thought, I'm just going to leave that in, because actually it's more powerful.
Was that a mistake?
I think one, because Wes said, did you mean to repeat that? Or I put a few things differently in, and I felt there are a few things I jiggled about, but I think it was an accident at first, and I thought, well, that's good, let's keep it in.
Happy accident. Yeah.
Have you enjoyed directing this footage?
I think enjoy is probably not a strong enough word. I think it's been more than just enjoying.
Because you were there right from the beginning, do you remember? Right from, possibly earlier than Wesley wanted you to be.
Yes, that was that first conversation where I think I was probably poking my oar in a little bit too early, wasn't I? Yeah.
Because I know sometimes librettists, and I've actually had this before with an opera house working on something, and that they called me in about 3 or 4 times as the libretto was, was just being in progress, and they were very worried about it. And they were worried they should get another librettist. And I thought it was really unfair, so I felt I had to protect. I said, it's not finished yet, give us time. So I think Wesley, I think this is his first libretto.
It's amazing.
He was just a bit nervous that he may not have his freedom, but I think all the things he suggested to us,
Pretty well,
have helped us.
Well, I mean, those early days I love all of this, of course, putting it all together, but those first conversations with a composer and a librettist are really exciting. It's seeing the dreams appearing, and I always think of it as like I'm not a sculptor, but it's almost like there's something there, and it's not.
You can feel it.
Yeah, and so it's about just chipping away, and you've got the stone. You've just got to remove the right bits somehow. And I think particularly with this piece that the conceit is so strong, and this Ovid, the fact that it's rooted so much in something that's so real, it feels like you just put these things together, and placing the Purcell within this context as this mask at the board, it just sets so many things running that you just need to follow them and discover what happens somehow. It's sort of, of course you and Wes have done a huge amount of work, but it's felt like it's kind of...
No, but that's how I composed it.
It felt like it's just sort of come out, rather than you've had to sort of work on it. It sort of feels like this initial idea has just propelled the creation of it somehow.
And for me, I depend a lot on subconscious things. I felt there were a lot of puzzles to solve, and you just sort of look at it, but look at the problem, and then just think about it and come back, and rather than force something. Because I knew everybody would be asking about these transitions, but in a way, if you've done the work before, the transitions should, be fairly easy.
Yeah, I think they all work absolutely fantastically well. Yeah. Very good.
You're wonderful.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for doing it. It's been, I think it's been a great experience for all of us, really. Excellent, yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Dunedin.
Thank you, everyone.